let me just go through what's happening on our border. The DHS is bracing for as many as 500,000 people coming across our border in the 6 weeks following Title 42 being lifted. Now, our White House has announced that this is happening on May 23rd. So we're giving everybody, all of the enemies of the United States, plenty of notice. It's going to be chaos on our border that weekend and probably for the next month. So you want to come in, you want to, drag some missiles behind you. We're probably not going to catch you because there's going to be 500,000 people. According to the Border Patrol, if 500,000 people come in 1 month, that is an emergency. There is no way we have enough federal agents and NGOs and NGAs. There's not enough people going around. It's literally going to be a revolving door, getting people in, getting people out. There's not enough medical personnel. We want to give everybody a vaccine. If you want to come in, you got to get a vaccine. Not enough medical personnel to provide the COVID vaccines that the Biden administration has promised anybody who comes across. I don't think that's really hey, we're going to give you a vaccination. I don't think that's actually a draw, but maybe to some it is.
And that's the thing. This is the only vaccine mandate that has any sort of legal standing, right? We can absolutely tell people coming into our country. We have borders. We're a sovereign nation. We can tell people coming into our country whether they can get. We require all sorts of vaccines and medications for people many times just to visit, let alone coming across the border to immigrate into the country. We can do that. It's amazing that this long after we're trying to take and tell truckers in their trucks by themselves driving around the country that they have to get vaccinated or they can't work. But we have not been doing this to illegal immigrants crossing this border.
So they're talking about now giving all these vaccines, and they're thinking about pulling medical personnel from our VA hospitals. Are you kidding me? People who went to combat might have to wait for a while because we got to give medical attention to illegal immigrants on the border. The Biden administration is also looking at doing NTAs, notices to appear, with minimal biometric data and vetting just to get people through. They also are considering skipping critical paperwork. They're going to come in and if I were an enemy of this country, I'd have my plans already made. I'd already be here. I'd be in Mexico waiting right now.
Luckily, they've announced the date. So you can plan your travel to our border to cross in illegally.
Well, the Biden administration is also going to deploy a smart app for the illegals to use to submit to pre-screening. So we're going to provide, our tax dollars are going to provide an app for illegals to use so they don't have to stand in line so long. Oh my gosh. It's CBP One. It's an app originally devised to make it easier for known travelers to enter and go across the border. It is now being thought of as an easy way for folks just to get in. They are now preparing for double the number of migrants that came in 2021. It's double the amount of people that came in 2021. So the first year, how many was that? Was that 2 million? Did we hit 2 million?
I don't remember the number exactly. It was huge.
It's got to be 2 million. I bet it's 2 million because if 500,000 are coming in the first 6 weeks, that's got to be a number of 4 million by the end of the year. That'll be 6 million new people. Oh, and by the way, they're not completely blind to the problems it's going to create. There's going to be a lot of people whose pronouns the Border Patrol is going to get wrong. And so they put out last week some new regulations. The Border Patrol has all of the LGBTQI plus pronouns and the ways to deal with people, the gender neutral language, and they will be held accountable if they're not using gender-neutral language, our border patrol. God bless those guys. I don't know how you guys are doing it still, but thank you. Thank you for doing it.
So border crossings, 2020, 400,000. 2021, 1.6 million. So just 4 times, that's the fiscal year 2021, but 4 times the amount. And they're expecting an increase from this.
Double.
This has been a crisis since Joe Biden walked into office.
Day one.
And you remember the people coming across saying, yeah, well, we know Donald Trump didn't want us here. And Joe Biden said we should come. He said in the debate in front of everybody that we should come to the border. So we've been given permission to come. We're here because of Joe Biden. That crisis hit. There were a few questions from mainstream media. There was if you remember this, a shocking spattering of journalism, a scattered shower of journalism, if you will, for about 2 weeks, where they asked questions about this and seemed to cover it in mainstream media because it was such a crisis. It has not abated since then. It's increased. The problem is worse from when that first started under Biden, has increased this entire time and remained at these high levels. And now he's going to do this, which is something that is guaranteed to make the problem much, much worse. And this is why we as you were teasing earlier, we were discussing off the air, just politically speaking, what is going on here? Because the history of this Title 42 is basically at the very beginning of COVID, Trump stepped up and said, hey, we don't know what's going on with this. We don't want any outbreaks coming in across the border. We need to shut that situation down.
Which is completely consistent with all of his other policies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, he got blamed, he's a racist. No, it's consistent. It's consistent with logic.
Yeah. Oh, it is totally consistent, especially when Mexico, especially at the beginning, was doing nothing. To fight COVID at all. Right. So they had massive, massive problems going on there. And President Trump said, look, we're not going to import COVID. We're going to have to deal with our own stuff here. Let's not import it from other countries. Totally sensible thing. The left, of course, jumped to the conclusion, well, he's always wanted to close the border, and he's just using this to halt people coming across.
The same people who are screaming at us that we have to have masks, we must stay inside.
Fascinating how this happens. So Biden comes in on a campaign, especially to his hardcore left-wing supporters, where he tells them constantly, I'm going to undo all these unjust border policies of Donald Trump. Number one on the list is Title 42. So he comes into office, everyone's expecting within the first week he's going to lift this thing, because obviously it's just targeting minorities. Well, he doesn't lift it. And then we have a period where we start having lower death rates from COVID. We have our spikes, but they're not as bad as previous ones. And everyone's like, hey, why are you keeping this Title 42 thing going? Why are you blocking people from coming across the border? And Biden's answer was basically, we just take COVID way too seriously. It's so serious. We can't do it. And nobody buys this.
No.
The people on the left correctly say you're just extending Trump's policies because it helps you control the border and you don't have another massive political crisis on your hands. But we don't care about that. You told us you were going to do it. You better do it. So this pressure has been rising from the far left for a long time. And now here we are in 2022. The election's underway. Basically, we've already had primaries. Like, we are in the middle of it right now. And right now is when they're going to lift this rule, which is going to allow millions of people to cross the border. And it's almost definitely going to cause a massive crisis, which is just, if you're going to do it, either you do it when you first get in and you get through that wave and by the time 2022 rolls along, you're through it, or you wait until December of 2022 after the election's over, when you still have Congress. You don't need Congress for this particular rule, but you still have the support. You get anything you need to get done, you could still get done. And you'd think they would go along with it. That you'd think they'd get it done after the election. Instead, they're doing it now. So he either thinks he's not considering politics. He's got something else on his mind, which is
chaos,
or squirrels with Biden. Who knows what it is? It could be anything.
Right.
Or he's thinking, we are so lost in this election that we just need to shore up the base and get as many of these blue districts to remain blue. Forget the purple ones. They're toast already. just go after the hardcore supporters. Could be that. But I mean, that's neither one of those is really.
And it's because your hardcore supporters are not enough. They're just not enough. Especially, I mean, look, the Democrats were always the ones that were against illegal aliens. You know, Cesar Chavez was against illegals. Cesar Chavez went to the border to turn people around and to show how bad it was.
Unions have always been
horrible, because they take good jobs away from Americans. Americans are struggling right now, really struggling hard. Their taxes are about to go through the roof, because of the Biden budget. I mean, it is taxes, and more taxes. And you're going to be hammered by prices or taxes. One way or another, you're going to be paying for these taxes from the budget because they're killing jobs. Our tax hike is going to go up to 28% for corporate. So you know that's higher than communist China's income tax on corporations at 25. Europe is at their average rate for corporate taxes is 19. We'll be the highest in the world. What do you think that's going to do to hiring? And when there are more mouths to feed and our cities are overrun, how do you think that's going to work to the Democrats' advantage? It's not. So help me out. Besides chaos, what is your goal with this? What is your goal?